Welcome to Bushcraft. I'm Adam, and today we're going to talk about knife safety. The reason I kind of thought about was my kids are getting their first Swiss Army knives today, so I was like, you know what, do a quick safety video before and teach them before they get their knives. Knives are something that are part of our everyday life in bushcraft, survival, camping, hunting, even in the kitchen. So just figured knock this out. Don't forget before we do all this, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share, and let's go. So you have two basic kind of knives, really. You have your fixed blade knife, which is a fixed blade. The blade it just goes into a scabbard or a sheath, but it doesn't fold up. It's always there. And before we get in this, they all have the same basic parts. You have your blade, that's the cutting surface here. You have your spine, which is the flat surface, non-cutting surface. You have the tip, and you have your handle, and then a pommel. So it's the same for both knives. Now, whenever you're not using a knife, a fixed blade knife, for example, you're gonna put it back in its sheath. And that's when it's usually on me. Take a second to look back and make sure you're not cutting your clothes, or you're just not gonna drop it. So take a second, look back, so you don't stab yourself with it. Then with a folder knife, whenever you're not using it, you're gonna fold it. That's just simple. And I can't tell you how many times I've used a knife, or been working in tandem with somebody, and the knife be left out, and me go to grab it and then realize it's out, or just me grab my own knife, and then luckily I didn't cut myself, but I have cut myself plenty of times. Now, when you are working with a knife, you want to respect. There's a thing called the blood circle, and that's the area around you where if you had a knife out, if somebody's around you, that you could cut them. So you want to make sure that nobody's in this vicinity. Now, in bushcraft or working type situations, you may have somebody real close to you. Just let them know you have a knife out, and make sure that they acknowledge that you have a knife out. Because this way, you both know it and it's there. And you just got to be extra cautious of what they're doing and what you're doing. And the next is the triangle of death. Now, the triangle of death is if you're working, you don't want to work in this triangle right here. The reason for that is a lot of blood vessels, arteries that run through here, that if you nicked one, if you're carving a piece of wood and you nicked one, well, now you have an extreme situation, extreme life-threatening situation, and depending on how far you are from help, now you bleed out if you don't have a tourniquet or a way to make one. So stay out of this vicinity right here. And we've all heard, don't cut towards yourself. There are ways to safely do that. We'll talk about the grips in another video. This is just a basic safety video. So a folder knife has all the same parts as a fixed blade, except it folds. Now, with my fixed blade knife, I can use the back of it on a ferro rod and strike the ferro rod. With this, if I press on it and it starts to fold, now it cuts my hand. I'm in for a bad day. So it's just something you want to keep in mind. Even if there's a lock on a folding knife, you never want to trust that lock. Just by you manipulating it in different directions can cause that lock to disengage. There may be dirt in that lock or lint, so it's not fully catching. So you don't ever want to be putting a lot of pressure on the back of this knife. And that also goes with our grip, a basic grip. So this is a basic safety grip right here. It's the only grip I'll go over today. You don't want to ever put your thumb back here. If you put your thumb back here, you start pushing and you come off of whatever, now you've closed the blade on your fingers. So keep your fingers away from the blade. Telling you don't cut yourself is a silly thing, because we've all done it. But try not to cut yourself. We get complacent when we get with knives, and we start using them and then kind of forgetting about where everything is. Like, I can talk with it out. I know, I have my thumb right here along the handle, telling me it's in a safe direction. There's nobody around me, so I'm not really too worried about it. So, and then when we close our folder knives, this is kind of the grip you want to have right here, and then you just break it in half and ride the blade in. Don't want to, you don't. This is for instructional purposes only. Close it on your pants or leg like that. You can stab yourself. You can cut your fingers. So you want to have positive control with the blade at all times. Now, I am giving my kids, they both get a Swiss Army knife today. You know, what is better for a child? Is it a folding knife? Is it a fixed blade knife? I don't really think it has. There's a preference. Just kind of got to gauge on your kids' maturity levels, and then what you really want them to have. A fixed blade knife is easier to control. You know, it's just goes in and out of the sheath. You know, pocket knife or a folder can open and close. You know, but it can't close on the fingers. But it's just going to go one way or the other. So it's up to what their experience level or their maturity level is. So remember, just stay off the cutting side. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the woods.